So my name is Kristian, and I work with a company called Monitor. We have a big office here in Vilnius, but we are American owned. Our headquarters are in San Francisco, and we deal with online piracy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Some of you may know something about it already, some of you may not know so much. But hopefully after today you'll know a little bit more. See if the technology works. It does. Okay, so I'll go over a little bit about what piracy is, basically. How it happens, and why it's a problem for our customers. And then we'll talk a little bit about what we are doing about it together with our customers. And then I'll try to speak a little bit about the future, what we expect and what we need to be aware of. So, the internet obviously is growing very fast and has been for a long time. A lot of media is online today. You guys probably use a lot of it: music, movies, games, software. It's all being distributed online today, and some of it is being distributed illegally, and that means that the people who own the content, they don't actually get money when that happens, and that's costing them a lot of money. That's why our company is in the world. So we help them deal with that. Basically, the platforms that people use to distribute content illegally online, they've been available for a while, and we've been dealing with it for a long time. Since we started out all the way back in 2004, the platforms have changed. But the problem is still there, and we still work to help our customers deal with it. If you think about what can be pirated, it's basically, can you guys hear me all right? It's basically any type of content that can be represented in digital form. So. It's movies, music, business software, all the applications you guys probably use every day, Office, Excel, Word, Outlook, all that stuff, and it's computer games as well. Even books can be represented in digital form today. With the e-readers, people start to consume books digitally as well, and all of that stuff can also be distributed illegally online. Even live content today, like sports events, basketball games, football games, are broadcast live on the internet without consent from the content owners. So let's look a little bit at how piracy distribution happens. To start with, if we consider a traditional distribution model, when we talk about physical products, like DVDs, CDs, and so on, you typically have some sort of a manufacturing process where the products are produced. Then you have a distributor involved. The distributor, they make sure that the content reaches the retailer, basically, so that consumers can go and buy it in the stores. And in every step of this process, you also have a risk of the product being counterfeited. So basically, illegal copies, unoriginal copies can enter the supply chain and may end up with the consumer. So that's the more traditional model, and Monitor as a company also deals with physical counterfeiting, so illegal copies of DVDs and CDs and so on. But what we're dealing with in our part of the business is the online problem. So that's when the distribution moves to the internet. And if we look a little bit at that, as I started out with saying, most content today is being distributed online legally as well. So most software today you can download online from the vendors, from the companies that produce the software. And the same goes for media, for movies, music, and so on. You can consume it via the internet today. That also means that the risk of illegal distribution is even greater, because the content is already in digital form and it's already on people's computers, and the computers are already connected to the internet. So the gap between legal and illegal distribution is smaller in that sense. So if we look at how distribution happens illegally on the internet, we can kind of illustrate it in this way. You have somebody who has content on their computer, and that person can upload the content to one or more platforms on the internet, from where other users can then acquire the content without paying for it. Some of the platforms I'll talk a little bit about. One area we call peer-to-peer networks. Essentially what peer-to-peer networks are is it's a big network where a lot of users connect, and the content that's available on the network is supplied by the users. So everybody who's on there, they're downloading content, but they're also uploading content to the other users. And by contrast, the other area that we look at is websites. And the difference there is that the content is hosted on a few central web servers. It's still coming from individual users, pirates who upload files to the servers. But once the content is uploaded, it's hosted on a central server, and then people can go and download it. There's one group of sites we call cyberloggers. So basically what a cyberlogger is, it's a website where anybody can upload any file, and then they get a URL that points to that file, and they can distribute that URL to other people who can then download the file from the site. We also have a range of sites that support streaming. So basically what that means is if you put a video on a streaming site, then users can consume it on demand, in the sense that they can go and play it straight away, and they don't have to download the full file and play it off of their computer. So they can start watching instantly. Probably the best example of such a site is YouTube, which I'm sure everybody knows. So all of these different platforms are being used to distribute illegal material. A lot of them are being used to distribute legal material as well. But those are the platforms that we need to look at. So I want to go through a little bit of an example here. It's quite current. Django is a fairly new movie, Quentin Tarantino's new movie, and it was released not so long ago in movie theaters, and actually just a couple of days ago it had its official digital release. So a couple of days ago the first DVDs and Blu-ray copies became available for purchase. But what happens is, right after the movie, before the movie comes out in digital release, it becomes available online via pirate platforms. So several weeks before it's officially available in the stores for purchase, people can go and download it online for free. One of the places where this movie became available was a network called BitTorrent. That's a peer-to-peer network. And this is a screenshot of a website called the Pirate Bay, where you can see a lot of different copies of the movie Django was available. Basically, each of these lines here represent a copy of the file that users can go and download from this network. And when they click one of the movies and start to download it, essentially they start to transfer content from other users who are downloading the movie as well. And while they're doing that, they are also uploading content to other users. So everyone is contributing to the distribution. on the right-hand side, you have a couple of examples of other networks, eDonkey, Nutella, Aris, all different peer-to-peer networks where this sort of thing is happening. Another platform I mentioned previously, the cyberloggers. This is an example of a site where, again, somebody has uploaded a copy of Django. So once you reach this site, you can go on and download the file, and then you will be able to play the movie off of your computer. And people would typically find these websites through Google, just like they're looking for any other content on the internet. So just try and go and search for a Django movie, download in Google, you'll see how many results you get. It's really easily accessible. So again, in this case, the actual movie is on a web server somewhere. In this case, filestube.com. Well, actually, the movie is on filestube.com, which means that we actually we know where it's hosted and potentially what we can do about it. But with the P2P networks, it's obviously a little bit more complex because it's actually with all the users of the network, so it's much more distributed. And then, again, you know, the movies become available for streaming on demand typically. So if you find a site where the movie has been posted for streaming, you can load and watch it just like you would on YouTube. Hello. More people will be joining us outside in a bit. So basically, you can click and start watching it instantly. Whereas otherwise, if you had to download the entire movie, it might take an hour or 2 hours before you have it available and you can start playing it. Even YouTube, sometimes we see copies of new movies coming out on YouTube, which, you know, the reason I brought that up is just that I think most people consider YouTube a legal platform. You know, you watch a lot of legal content on there every day probably, but it is actually used for piracy as well. So, how do people find all this content? I mentioned already, Google is one good example. You know, that all you need to do is go on Google and search, and then you'll be able to find a lot of this stuff. So it's really easy to come about. There are a lot of blog sites that post the type of content, the social networks that we all use, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. You'll also be able to find it. It's everywhere basically. And you also have some dedicated sites that sort of specialize in pirated material, like the Pirate Bay, which we looked at before, and some other sites that basically just provide links to pirated content. Basically what that means is all of this illegal content is very easily available, and people consume it in very big amounts every day. So, since it's free, it means that the people who own the content, they're not making money when people download it this way. So then, you know, you might ask yourself, is nobody making money off of it? You know, if it's free and we're not paying for it, is nobody making money? But somebody is, I wanted to just briefly go over the ways that the people who are involved in distributing piracy are making money. Typically on the websites where you can find this type of content, you'll have advertisements. So they'll be making money off of ads that they're displaying to the users. So basically the more visitors they get, the more hits they get on their sites, the more money they make. And a lot of these types of sites, especially the cyberloggers that I mentioned before, some of the streaming sites, they get a lot of traffic from piracy. So they're definitely making a lot of money off of it. Some of the sites where you can download files, they also offer premium subscriptions. So basically, users can pay an amount of money, and then they'll be able to download the files faster. So if you don't do that, your download might take 5 hours. If you do that, you might be done in half an hour. That's another way they make money. In addition to that, obviously, in order to be able to access all of this, you need an internet connection, you need some sort of a device, a laptop, a PC, and so on. So the companies who are providing that, they're making money as well. You know, the broadband companies, you're paying them every month. But the content that people download this way, the people who own that, they're not making money. So there's money being made, but it's not going to the content owners. And that's obviously a problem for them. So some of the big branch organizations for the entertainment industry, they try to estimate their losses because of piracy. That's obviously not an easy task. You know, how do you translate somebody who downloads a copy illegally into what could have been earned legally if they didn't do it that way? But the reason I put this up here is just basically to say that the amount of money that we're talking about is not small, and it's definitely big enough that they're really interested in dealing with the problem. And naturally, that's what we want to help them do. The other thing you can mention is that aside from money that they're missing out on, a lot of times the pirated material may also reflect negatively on their products. Somebody obtains a copy of a movie online and it's really bad quality because it was videotaped in a movie theater with a camcorder, then maybe they will give the movie bad reviews. You know, they didn't think it was a very good movie, and they weren't impressed at all by the special effects because they were black and white and somebody was shaking the camera. You know, and you know, all of that, it's really not in the interests of the content owners. So, what's being done to work against this? Obviously, this is where, you know, our area of expertise in our company. First of all, we have what we call enforcement, which is where we go in and we try to minimize the availability of the illegal content. So basically, we try to have an impact on how easy it is to obtain the content illegally online. And the way we're representing it here is it's basically to show, you know, on the bottom here you have the volume of the action you can take, you know, how big of a scale can you do it. And on the left-hand side you have, you know, how much does it cost to do it and how much time does it take to do it. So, you know, the higher the volume, the lower the cost typically, which means basically that it's more effective. So some of the activities we're doing which are we can do on very high volume and which are low in cost, it's basically anything that we can automate. So we as a company, we are developing technology to automatically detect when somebody is pirating and to automatically issue notices, C&D letters. C&D stands for cease and desist. So that basically means we send a notice to someone saying we've detected that you were engaged in illegal copying of material and please stop. You know, and then that might have different effects depending on who you're writing and so on, but it's something that we can automate, which means we can do it on a very large scale. If we move further up, we also do follow-ups on the automated process. So when people don't respond, we go and manually follow up. We call out the people involved. We get involved with the ISP, the internet provider, so the company that's providing the broadband connection where we see the pirating occurring, and we try to put pressure on them to get involved and help solve the problem. Then if we move even further out, you know, with the cases where we can't deal with it in the second stage, then we basically typically involve the clients, our customers, and they use their legal resources to further escalate the problem. So again, you can see, you know, as we move up into these activities, obviously it requires more resources, it takes more time. As soon as we have to involve, you know, lawyers and the legal departments of large companies, then it just becomes a much more time-consuming process. And then, you know, in the extreme, some of our clients may consider actually going into court with major players, like a big website that's refusing to take action, refusing to remove illegal content, and so on. That's considered the last resort, because obviously that's where it becomes really, really time-consuming and really, really costly to do. So basically what we try to get really, really good at is everything that's in the lower right-hand corner here. And we do that by developing technology, basically, that can do these things. So what we have is we have a very comprehensive solution where we can detect piracy on the internet. We can do it on a very large scale and on a range of different platforms. We cover the peer-to-peer networks that I discussed before. So basically we're able to record when people download certain content on these networks. We also monitor a large range of websites where we know this type of content is being distributed. And we actually also use the search engines, and we try to remove content from the search engines when we discover illegal files. So we have some other services as well. Sometimes we're looking at the ads that are being placed on the websites. Our customers might be interested in knowing who's the ad provider, who's the company who's helping these guys make money off of illegal files. We do stuff like pre-release monitoring as well, where we look at a new movie that's about to come out. We help the clients discover when it comes out, where it comes out, and they can use that to get an idea about where it came from, you know, who put it on there, and how can they prevent it from happening again. So all of the information we can collect with this platform, this solution that we develop, we can use that to support the enforcement efforts that I talked about before. So basically, when we find files on websites, we can try to have them removed. We actually have direct access to a lot of the websites where the files are being hosted, so we can take them down automatically with our software. As I mentioned, you know, when we find peer-to-peer users, we can send out notices to try to change people's behavior, make them understand that when they go and download this stuff, they're also uploading it to others, and actually these copies of the movies are illegal. Probably a lot of the people already know that, but you know, the fact that they're made aware that people are actually watching what they're doing, that might change their behavior, and some people might not know that what they're doing is not legal, so we definitely want to tell them that. We also use all the information we collect to provide business intelligence to our customers. So with all of the data that we are pulling down from the internet, we can provide a lot of interesting insight into how piracy is developing, what are the trends that we're seeing, you know, where are people copying our customers' content the most, in which countries, and is it going up or down, and they can use that information basically to make business decisions. So basically, by analyzing the piracy behavior and the piracy trends, which we give them insight into, they can determine how they need to change their marketing strategies or make other decisions that change the game, to use a buzzword today, with regards to piracy. So basically, this is a big part of what we do, is provide business intelligence with regards to piracy, make our customers understand the problem, how it's developing, and what they can do about it. So our role, basically, currently we are the market leader in what we do. We've we've been in the game since back in 2004 when we started out doing anti-piracy. The main reason that we are the leader, well, there are a couple of reasons, but I think one of them is that we work with our clients. We work to establish very strong relationship with our clients, partnerships over an extended period of time. So basically we have a very high customer retention, so we work with them for a long time and work to understand their business in detail, work to understand the content that they own, what it is, and help them understand the internet and how it's impacting their business by using our expertise and by using our technology to give them insight. Obviously, another big factor is our employees, all the people we have working for us. We have a very dedicated staff, and they work every day to understand the problems, analyze all the data we collect, and provide their insight to the clients. So really a key thing for us is to have the right people in place. I believe that we do, but we're always on the lookout, obviously, for more people to help us with this. So, to look a little bit ahead, we've managed to be successful in this area for some years now, but obviously we have some big challenges ahead. It's impossible to predict the future. Obviously, I'm not gonna pretend like I can do that, but everyone knows that things will change. The internet continues to grow. The amounts of data are exploding, and I think the real challenge for everyone, not just in our business, but for everyone who's working with the internet, is to handle all the data and to be able to make sense of it and understand it. And that's our challenge as well. We have a number of sort of mantras or things that all of us who work for Mark Monitor have to be aware of and keep in mind in our everyday lives. And one of the most important ones is basically we need to be innovative. We need to be at the forefront of what's going on. We need to be following the trends on the internet and be able to respond to them very quickly. So basically, while we don't know exactly how things are going to look 6 months from now or a year from now, what we need to do is make sure that we are agile enough and quickly responding to the changes when they happen, so that we can keep being the best at what we do and keep providing our customers with value. And obviously that's, at the end of the day, is up to all the people that are working for us. So really what we focus on, and what I focus on when I look for new people, is finding people who are bright and who really love content, want to work with the media industry, and can help us succeed continuously in what we're doing. Basically, that's what we prepared for today. I just want to mention we have a little stand outside, so if I think we're a little bit too many to do too much Q&A now, but if any of you are interested and have more questions, I'll be around most of the day, and a lot of my colleagues are here as well, so come and see us outside. And that's it, really. I just want to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you.